Propaganda is the art of control disguised as truth. It does not scream its presence, nor does it ask for permission. It seeps into the mind, shaping thoughts before they have a chance to form naturally. It does not need to be forced when it can be believed. That is what makes it so powerful, and that is why it never truly disappears. In Star Wars, propaganda is a weapon as dangerous as any lightsaber. The Empire does not rule by strength alone. It rules by perception, by controlling what people see, what they hear, what they believe. The Jedi, for all their wisdom, do the same. They decide what knowledge is dangerous, what emotions are forbidden, what truths are best left buried. And in doing so, they create their own form of control, one that feels righteous, but is no less manipulative. Reality is not so different. Governments, movements, leaders, they all understand that shaping the way people think is more effective than forcing them into obedience. A person who believes a lie will defend it as if it were their own thought. A nation convinced of its superiority will fight wars without questioning why. A people taught to fear an enemy will accept any price to feel safe, and all of it is orchestrated by those who stand to benefit the most. The most dangerous part of propaganda is that it never announces itself. It does not wear a villain's mask or declare its intentions. It whispers in the background, woven into the stories we tell, the symbols we trust, the history we are given. It tells us we are free while quietly placing walls around us, and by the time we see them, it is often too late. In this video, we will explore how propaganda operates in Star Wars and in real life. How it controls through symbols, through fear, through the manipulation of truth. We will examine how the Empire shaped minds, how the Jedi were blind to their own influence, and how history repeats itself over and over again. Because the real lesson is not just about Star Wars, it is about us. Propaganda always begins with an image. A flag, a crest, a uniform. In Star Wars, the Empire uses the same tactic, stamping their sigil on every ship, every trooper, every broadcast. It is a way to make the people feel surrounded, controlled, owned. The rebellion does the opposite, turning the mere sight of their insignia into a beacon of hope. In real life, the same strategy is used by every nation, every government, every movement. Look at any moment in history, and you will see symbols wielded like weapons. Nations drape their soldiers in flags. Governments engrave their authority into statues and architecture. It is not just branding. It is a psychological tether, a reminder that you belong to something, whether you choose to or not. The Jedi did this too, though they would never admit it. Their robes, their temples, their code, all designed to create an image that would stay in the minds of those who saw them. But symbols do not always mean what they are intended to. The Empire believed their flag inspired order, but to the oppressed, it meant suffering. The rebel insignia meant defiance to the Empire, but freedom to those in chains. In our world, a flag raised in one country means pride, but in another, it can mean oppression. The meaning of a symbol is shaped by those who carry it, and those who resist it. Yet, we trust these images more than we should. We assume a uniform means loyalty, a title means wisdom, a crest means legitimacy. But these things are illusions, built to manipulate, to direct emotion without thought. That is why propaganda is so dangerous. It does not force obedience. It convinces you to choose it. The Empire does not need to lie. The Holonet is flooded with imperial victories, stories of rebel terrorism, speeches about how the Emperor saved the galaxy. There is no counter-argument, no debate, only the version of reality that the Empire approves. And because people hear it so often, they believe it. This is the oldest trick in history. Controlling information is more effective than creating it. A government does not need to fabricate a new truth. They only need to silence the one that exists. They can declare a fact to be false, a movement to be radical, a truth-teller to be dangerous. And once they have done that, reality itself bends to their will. Think about the things we believe today. How many of them are true, and how many are just the loudest voices repeating the same message? The way we learn history, the way we view the world, the way we understand who the enemy is, all of it comes from those who own the channels of communication, and those people are rarely interested in truth. The Jedi were once the guardians of knowledge, but even they controlled what was taught. They hid Sith history, erased forbidden techniques, decided which knowledge was safe. Even the protectors of peace feared the power of the wrong idea. If even the noble are tempted by this, what hope is there for those who only seek power? Fear is the most powerful tool in propaganda. The Empire keeps the galaxy in line by making them terrified of what would happen if they resist. The Death Star is not just a weapon, it is a statement. If you defy us, you will be destroyed. That fear seeps into the minds of people, convincing them that submission is the only way to survive. But fear does not always come in the form of threats. Sometimes it comes as a warning, a whisper that danger is just around the corner, that an enemy is waiting in the shadows, that only through obedience can safety be found. The Separatists were painted as monsters, the Jedi as traitors, the rebels as terrorists. The more people believed it, the more they welcomed the chains around their wrists. History repeats itself. Wars are justified by the fear of an unseen enemy. Freedoms are abandoned in the name of protection. People are turned against each other because they believe the other side is dangerous. And once fear has taken root, logic becomes meaningless. A frightened person does not ask questions. They only seek shelter, even if it means a cage. The Jedi were afraid too. Afraid of the Sith, afraid of losing control, afraid of change. And in their fear, they became blind. That blindness allowed Palpatine to rise, to twist the Republic into an empire, to turn the Chosen One into his greatest weapon. Fear does not just control the weak, it corrupts the strong. The easiest way to unite a people is to give them a common enemy. The Empire knew this. That is why they painted the rebels as radicals, the Jedi as traitors, the Republic as weak. They did not just destroy their enemies. They made the people want to see them destroyed. That is the true goal of propaganda. To make violence feel righteous. This tactic is everywhere. Leaders do not need to fix problems. They only need to blame someone for them. A group, a nation, a belief. If people have an enemy, they will rally behind anything that promises to defeat it. And once they have accepted that enemy exists, they will see its shadow in every corner. That is how war is sustained, not by necessity, but by hatred. And hatred does not fade quickly, it lingers. The Empire fell, but the remnants of its ideology remained. The New Republic struggled because the scars of war did not vanish overnight. And in real life, we see the same thing. Old wounds, old grudges, old lies, they do not disappear. They are passed down, shaped into new conflicts, new divisions, new wars. That is the tragedy of propaganda. It does not just spread lies, it creates wounds that never heal. It takes entire civilizations and carves lines between them, turning neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend. And once those lines are drawn, they are almost impossible to erase. The Empire falls, the New Republic rises, but the cycle continues. The First Order takes its place, wearing a different mask but playing the same game. They promise something new, something better. But in reality, it is just another version of the same rule. This is the final trick of propaganda. To make people believe they have a choice when they do not. History is full of these illusions. Revolutions that replace one dictator with another. Elections that offer two different faces of the same system. The belief that change has arrived when, in truth, everything remains the same. And because people think they have chosen, they never realize they are still in chains. The Jedi believed they were different from the Sith, that their way was pure, that their cause was just. But in their arrogance, they imposed their will on the galaxy, just as much as the Empire did. They rejected emotion, rejected attachment, rejected anything that did not fit their doctrine. And in the end, they became victims of their own rigidity. That is the danger of believing too much in any side. The moment you are convinced you are on the right path, you stop questioning where it leads, and when that happens, you are no longer free. You are simply following a different master. Propaganda is not just a tool of tyrants. It is a force that shapes every society, every government, every movement. It tells people what to believe, what to fear, who to hate. And it does not end when an empire falls. It only changes form. The Republic, the Empire, the First Order. The names change, but the game stays the same. And this is the lesson history refuses to teach. The downfall of one oppressive system does not mean the rise of freedom. It only means the arrival of something new, something that will soon find its own way to control, to deceive, to shape minds. And the people, desperate for stability, will believe in it. The Jedi fell. The Sith rose. The Sith fell. The Jedi returned. Each side believing they were right. Each side convinced they had broken the cycle. But the truth is, the cycle was never broken, only repeated. And as long as people refuse to see it, as long as they believe in the illusion of sides, it will never end. Because propaganda does not need a tyrant to exist. It only needs a willing audience.